All right, and I think we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the DevCycle Twitch channel. I'm Andrew, your friendly neighborhood DevCycle developer advocate. Today, coming to you live from the DevCycle West Coast offices here in Victoria, BC. I am so excited to be back. Feature Focus is one of my favorite live streams that we do every month. And one of the things that I love the most about this stream is that every month I have a new member of the DevCycle team on to join me and talk a little bit about what they do and some of their favorite features of the platform. And I was lucky enough a couple weeks ago, actually, to get to head to DevCycle HQ in Toronto, Canada, to meet with some of these folks in person, including my very special guest who's going to be joining me on stream right now, Kenny. So I'm going to pull Kenny onto stream. Kenny, I did mute you, so you can unmute yourself now, I think. Yeah, how's it going, Kenny?
It's going great. Thank you, Andrew. And how are things on your end?
Yeah, they're going okay. So I'm coming live from a telephone booth in the office right now. So I'm sure my audio is just absolutely mint today. But it's all right because I'm not going to be doing a lot of talking today. All of the talking, all of the demo is going to be from you today. All the hard work. So Kenny, are you ready for your DevCycle Twitch debut?
Well, I'm already here. My camera's already on, and the stream is already live, so I can't really say no now. So I'm gonna say yeah, ready to go.
That's the right answer. That's how they get you. They get you live on stream and then ask you the question. So folks, if you've never tuned into a Feature Focus before, Feature Focus is a monthly live changelog stream where we talk to you about some of our favorite new features that have been released on the DevCycle platform in kind of the last month, or just ones that we love that haven't had a chance to kind of be in the spotlight a lot. So today, on today's stream, we're going to be talking about or looking at a couple of different things. We're going to be looking at real-time updates. We're going to be looking at some of our docs areas that we haven't explored a lot before. We're going to be looking at our blog a little bit, might even explore organization on the platform. I'm also going to tease a brand new feature that's coming out really soon. And of course, as with every stream, I'm going to do a gift card giveaway at the end. And I know we have Taj, I think. There's a bunch of viewers that have been on that have won gift cards, and so they are awesome. They're $20 gift cards to use wherever you'd like. So please stick around because I'll be telling you all about how to do that at the end. But as we kind of start things off, I always like to turn it over while I do like a background tech check to our kind of co-hosts, to my guests, to tell a little bit about themselves, and also for anybody who is just kind of happening upon this stream and has never heard of DevCycle, what DevCycle actually is as a platform, and then kind of what you do. So I'm going to pull myself off stream for a second. Kenny, put you like dead center on the screen while I go and do a tech check. And yeah, if you just want to kind of introduce yourself and what you do, and yeah, a little bit about what DevCycle is all about.
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you at home who aren't really familiar with DevCycle, first, I'm not really sure how you found our stream, but welcome. DevCycle essentially is a feature flag management platform. For all your feature flag needs, we also provide a little bit of analytics and a bunch of integrations to make your developers' quality of life just skyrocket. So if you're not really familiar with us, feel free to check us out, devcycle.com. But enough about DevCycle, it's time for me to talk about myself. And essentially my job here as a support engineer at DevCycle is to pretty much solve problems by supporting my team internally or my clients externally. And a main point of that is to really understand their problems. Most of the times we enter a mode I like to call problem solving mode. And most of the times we're not really solving the right problem. So a big chunk of what I do is I take the problem, kind of break it down, kind of dig into it, and kind of gather as much data as I can surrounding it. So that before anybody really jumps in and kind of, spend any effort or energy on it, the team has like a better understanding of the impact it has on our clients or their users. And then with all the information combined, it really helps our team focus and streamline their efforts on the most valuable and highly urgent items. That pretty much covers the gist of what I do here. So I'm going to toss it back to you, Andrew.
I love it. By the way, did you write all of that down? Because if you didn't, that
Some
was
of it.
so eloquent. That was beautiful. I loved that. This is my problem. I never write things down. I just go off the cuff, and it always sounds like it. That was beautiful. Best introduction. Look out, future focused guests, because that is like the gold standard of like the DevCycle description and like your self promotion. And you did support engineering. Very proud. So Kenny, I'm also curious. So we talked about this in person, but I always love when people come on and they're not like fans of kind of I'm saying that the wrong way. So I heard through the grapevine that you are a big fan of CSS. Is this true?
Yeah, I am. It is true. I don't know where they heard it from, but they heard right.
So I only bring this up because there's not a lot of huge fans of CSS. In the world. In fact, there's a lot of haters for CSS. And so before we jump into feature focus, I always like to get like a hot take that I can like advertise on our social media. What is your top CSS hot take for today's stream?
Nobody cares what's behind the scene. They only care what's put in front of them. So CSS is something that is needed by everybody. It's also a great way for developers to exercise their creative muscles, and you got to balance, the usage of the right and left hemisphere of your brain. So it makes you better overall.
I love that Kenny just came for all the back-end engineers that are watching. So if you are a full stack or back-end engineer that is watching this stream, you can find Kenny at Kenny Nguyen, support engineering at Devs. No, I'm just kidding. I love that. Thank you for that hot take. I appreciate it. And I also really appreciate you being on and really focusing on some of your favorite features, because this was not a challenging feature focus month, but it's summer, it's August, it's July and August. People are on vacation. Lots of people are kind of away. And so we've been working on a lot of features. We got some really exciting things. Like I said, spoiler alerts, I'll tell you a little bit later. But if you've been to the DevCycle platform recently, you may have noticed there hasn't been a huge amount of brand new features that have been flying out the door. And that's because we've really been focusing internally on some exciting new features that are coming out soon, but also on making the features that we have even better. And so when I invited you to join this stream, Kenny, I was kind of like, I wonder what we can explore. Like, what is going to be the thing that we can really look at in a super meaningful way? And you were like, I want to talk about real-time updates. And I was like, heck yeah, I love real-time updates. So maybe I guess I'll turn things over to you to kind of take it away and kind of talk about your first favorite DevCycle feature that is real-time updates.
Absolutely. So to begin, a little bit of background on what real-time updates is. When you are applying any update to essentially any platform, generally for the user to see the update, you would need to re-render the components. So for example, I have the DevCycle marketing page pulled up here. You'll notice at the top, it's not the actual DevCycle marketing page, it's just a clone copy, mostly because they wouldn't let me touch the actual live site. But what we're going to do today is we're going to essentially use DevCycle to update this button here, this create account button, and we're going to update the text maybe to something a bit spicier, maybe something that will be the difference for someone to click on it. Who knows? But that's what we're going to be trying to achieve today. So to begin, I have our documentation pulled up. So I'm going to be doing this as if I've never done it before. And I'm going to be taking you through this journey with me. So to begin, let's click on SDK. And because I know I'm going to be using the JS SDK, short for JavaScript, I can just go ahead and go there. So first thing to note is installation. I'm using the CDN, and I've already added it to the header of our project. You can use it either through Node or you can use the CDN. Follow along with me. Hopping over to getting started. So this is pretty much where we're actually going to be starting. And in here, you'll see that we could assign a user object and assign a user ID. For our use case, we're actually going to set the user ID to be anonymous. Essentially, it's just going to be me. So to begin, these are the 4 steps we're going to go through. So feature variables, essentially which feature is going to require how many variables. In our case, it's just the 1 variable for the button. the elements that need to be updated based on the feature flag value, which would be our button itself, update value on initialization, so when the page first load, and then every time you change the variable value, real-time update so that it applies and renders on the screen for your users. So with that, we can actually start coding and get into it. So one thing to note is that because this is a client-side SDK, there are dependencies on the elements on the website to load first. So one thing we can do before jumping in is we can actually add an event listener onto the document itself to check for when all the content there is loaded. And this is going to help us ensure that we're not really pulling or like using any elements that haven't had a chance to load. Not really fair to them. That's not really what we want to do either. So this is where we're going to start. And just in case we mess up anywhere along the way, we're also going to put a try and catch block. So let's catch the error. And once we catch the error, let's put it into the console. And one thing I really like to do when I'm kind of playing around with DevCycle or really anything really is to prepend all of my logs so that when we get into the console, we can kind of filter out the noise based on that. So let's do that. Cool. So now that we kind of have everything set up, we can actually get into the DevCycle part of things. So to begin, let's create our user object. And as mentioned, I want my user to be anonymous. So I'm going to set anonymous to be true.
Kenny, can you zoom in on your code a little bit? Like just, yeah, there you go. Perfect.
I can. Thank you for that. Cool. So we got the user object and we want to essentially initialize this client object. You'll notice here that because we're using the CDN, we're actually going to have DevCycle.initialize DevCycle. So just something to note if you are following along using the CDN. So I can actually just go ahead and copy and paste, change this to DevCycle. And then you'll see here that we're going to need the client SDK key. So let's go grab that. So in here, I'm going to go back to DevCycle. And you'll see here that I created a project. This is for this demo only. So when I go into my API keys, please don't steal the key. They're not going to exist after this demo. And we have a really generous free tier, so you can actually get your own set. So this is my key. I'm just going to show everybody. I'm just going to copy it. I'm just going to paste it because that's what I do best. Cool. And paste. I'm going to remove the DBC options because we're not applying any. And then essentially we have our client set up just like that.
And you just made it so easy. I love this. This is like the best. This is the most in-depth code sample that I think we've ever had on a feature focus. So you're killing it right now, my friend. Killing it.
Yeah, I wish I could take credit, but I didn't make it easy. Shout out to our engineers and shout out to the folks that worked on our documentation. You guys are making it easy for me to make it look easy. And so you're making me look good. Thank you very much.
So what's
pretty
next?
much that's it. That's the end of the page. So we can actually go to the next session. Usage. So now we can start using DevCycle. So you'll see here, we can wait on features. That seems like something we want to do. So let's go ahead and do that. So down here, we have our DevCycle client. We are going to wait for it, load, and then after it finished loading, we can do everything else here. But I actually don't want to do what's in here. I actually want to go down and grab the variable value itself. So what I'm going to do is within this initialization code, sorry about that. My screen is just...
No, you're good.
Cool.
You're good. It's awesome.
Yeah. So after we wait for the DevCycle client to initiate, we're going to then do everything inside of here. So what exactly do we want to do inside of here? The first thing we want to do is we want to grab the variable that we have assigned on the dashboard. Except right now we don't have anything assigned on the dashboard. So because we're blocked here, it makes sense for us to head over to the dashboard to figure out exactly what we need next. So going back to the home screen, This is just the main screen you'll see. We're going to create a feature, which is here, but I'm going to click on the features tab to get a list of all the features we have. And would you look at that? We actually don't have any. So new project, create a new feature. And these are the different types you can select. I'm not going to elaborate too much on the different types. We do have docs on that if you guys want to check it out. But today we're going to do an experiment because we're testing different versions of the button. So let's call this homepage button CTA. And you'll see here that we can set the initial variable type because we are changing the text within the button. I actually don't want it to be a Boolean value. So I'm going to swap it over to be a string value because it works better with our use case. So we have the variable key, we have our control and different variation. This is just the template that gets created when you select experiment for the feature type. But if I were to go back over here and go to our docs, you'll see that in order to actually get the reference for the variable, we're going to need the variable key. So I can copy this over, throw it into my code, and then go back to the dashboard, and we'll be able to find the variable key right here. And with a click of a button, we can copy it, which is what we do best, and then we can paste. So this variable now has reference to this variable here on the dashboard. And what it does is, based on what we select here, control variation A or variation B, we can essentially set the value to be string 1, string 2, or string 3. But we first have to set that up. So our default value, let's see what we should put it as, should be create an account. So let's change that to create account. And awesome. So one other thing to kind of do while you kind of go through all of this, we generally recommend that you try logging out the different components just to get an idea of what exactly you're working with. If what you think you're working with is exactly what it is. And it's kind of just a nice way to check your work as you go. So I can say DevCycle variable. And then let's just put in this variable and see what we get. So we got string 3. So it's randomized right now, so that's pretty cool. So it seems like we are getting what we're expecting to get, which is the variable value. So that's pretty cool. Unless you don't think it's cool.
I think it's cool. I think that's awesome. Listen, you just like were able to get this actually up and functionally working in like 5 minutes with no real bugs and effective logging in here, Kenny. You're putting me to shame. I feel anybody who's watching this, I think we got a potential new DevRel hire here. So if you ever don't need Kenny in support anymore, I feel like he's got a future in the world of developer relations.
What Andrew said. But to continue where we left off, going back up, we have the feature variable, which is our variable right here. I kept the name as variable. Please be a bit more original than me. Second point, elements that update based on feature flag values. Ooh, we do not have that. So I guess since we're blocked here, this is the next thing to tackle. So elements that update based on feature flag value. We know it's this guy because we chose this guy. So if I were to go in and click inspect, I can see this is where he lives. The question is, how do I access this fella? And the way we would do that is we would create a variable. I'm going to try to be a bit more creative with the name. Cool. And then we're going to search for that element.
So creative, but.
Now, there's 2 ways we can kind of go about this. One of them is easier, a bit riskier, and a lot faster. The other way, we're going to do both ways, by the way, takes a bit more time in figuring out, but it's a bit safer. And the difference between the two is how specific we want our selector for this button to be. So the most generic one is if I right click on copy and click copy JS path, that actually gives me exactly what I want, this whole line here. And just to make sure it's actually what I want, I put it into the console and it's what's being returned. So confirm. So since we have this, we're done, right?
Done.
No, we're not.
Come on.
So the reason why we're not done is because if you look in here, each one of these is a different element, which means if anything changes to any one of these elements, there are a lot of dependencies. Even the smallest change would would break this and kind of render it useless. So
what you're saying is
other way to
never
do it?
change anything. Never change anything. Just stay exactly as we are right now, and nothing will ever go wrong.
No, just log everything before you change anything and make sure everything looks nice.
Nice, I like it.
Logs are your friends. But yeah, so the other way we could do it is we can get a bit more specific with the selector. And the way I'm going to do that and how I generally do it is I try to find an element that kind of sticks out as being different than the other elements that I can start at. So instead of starting at like the very top, the body, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down and I see this section. It seems to be the only section around with this class name. So you see section home header. I'm going to assume we only have one header. If we don't, whoever's working on the site needs to fix that. But we do only have one, so I will start there. So query selector, I'm going to go section. And if you're not too familiar with how query selectors work, is essentially a way to just identify any element on a page based on these attributes. So the class attribute we reference with a dot, ID we'll reference with a £. So section, I put a dot for a class, section underscore home dash header. What does that do? I don't know. Let's log it out. Okay, cool. So we get this entire section. So that's a good starting place, but it's not the button. So let's actually go a bit deeper into there. Now, so we have this section. Sorry, this is refreshing a lot. I'm just gonna update this. We have this section here, and then we want the div all the way down here, class button group. So what I'm gonna do is if I add a space, what this does is the next element that it checks, it will check any element that's a child of section. So I click space, I click div, and then I'm gonna put button dash group. So that should jump from here all the way down to, give me a second, to here. And there's only one way to find out if it actually does that. We're gonna log it out as well. Cool, so slowly getting there, slowly getting closer, ensuring that we have the right element. And the reason why this is important is because as a web page kind of matures and it grows and it goes through like different life cycles, things are going to change on the page. So you want to ensure that you have the least amount of dependency on elements so that you don't really feel restricted when it comes to what you can and cannot edit. And with that being said, I'm going to actually grab the button that we want, which is this anchor tag here, where it says create account. So this less than sign says find the child element that is an A tag, and that should give us this. But you'll also notice that there were two A tags. Explore document would be the other one. And something to note is that it will grab the first instance, which is what we want. But in the case that someone swaps the button around, that wouldn't be the case. So let's actually add .button.white.w-button, which are the three classes on this element. And this will be our final check.
Kenny, this is the calmest that I've ever seen anyone using selectors, like using a query selector and actually like landing where they want to. This is like this. I feel relaxed right now. This is the calmest live coding demo that I've seen in a really long time. Thank you. And maybe the background music as well. Yeah, the background music helps. Smooth. I feel like you have a voice. It's a weird thing to say. Like, you know what they say people have a face for radio? I feel like you have like a voice and face for live stream coding.
Is it? Well, I guess that's a good
thing. I don't know what to do with that statement, actually. All right, so where are we now? What's next?
So what's next is we have the button. So we're going to scroll up to our to-do list because I wasn't keeping track of where we are. So feature variables, got it, cool. Elements that update based on feature flag values. So we have reference to it now, and we've confirmed that within the console. Cool. So now we're gonna have to update the value on initialization. So two parts to that. One is we need to get the value, and then two is we need to set it on initialization. So the first thing is getting the value. As always, when we have to do something new and we're not really sure how to do it, back to the docs. And you'll see here that, oh wait, we already have the value, which look at that. So what we can do to set this on initialization is we can do the button dot, and let me go back to here. Actually, before I do this, I just want to showcase kind of like the power and the flexibility of what you can achieve with kind of this setup. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to inspect this. I take that back. I'm just going to copy and paste because that's what I do best. Copy and paste. I'll click on button. So this is the same reference that we have on the left-hand side. The right-hand side, left-hand side, same button. They're technically different buttons, but like they're doing the same thing. So these are all the different attributes that I have access to when it comes to this button. I can set the inner text. Well, first I can get the inner text, then I can set the inner text. That's pretty cool. But that's not where things end. If I were to inspect this element and I were to expand this, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of attributes. And the best part is we can change any one we want. So you'll see here, I can go style.color. And we'll go red because that's the first one that came to mind. And there should be equal. And there we go. Yeah, so I didn't log things out. I just started typing things, got errors. So remember to log your stuff, guys. So essentially, we have access to do all of these things. But what we want to do today is we want to update the inner text. So let's do that. Button.inner text, the exact same thing we did here. But instead of setting an actual value, we're going to set it to be the value of whatever we set on the on the DevCycle dashboard. So what we're going to do here is this variable returns the value. We confirmed that earlier, so we can literally just set it to be the variable itself. So point 1, point 2, point 3 done, but we haven't confirmed point 3 is actually working until now when you can see string 3. So you'll see that's what this line does what we want it to do. So the only thing left to do is to apply real-time updates. Now, because this is a live server like running locally on my device, it's going to auto refresh. That's just my settings. In a real world scenario, the user would have to refresh to get kind of like updated values for it to render properly. But we're going to add real-time updates so that what you're seeing here, where it updated to string 3 without, well, it auto refresh, you're going to see that it updates without any refresh necessary. But I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to hop back into the doc to figure it out. So cool. So we got features, we got variables, we got tracking. And I think the easier way to do this is to go full screen. And I actually passed it. So good thing I check on that little sidebar. Cool. So going back up, we'll see variable updates, some text that I'm going to leave for homework for you guys to read. And I'm just going to copy. And I'm going to paste. Now, const variable, we already use it. So we can do const DevCycle variable for the lazy folks. We need our variable key. So the variable key we can grab from here. And the default value. Now you'll notice it's very similar to the setup for variable. The difference is one is for the actual variable itself, and variable value will provide the value. So you'll see the difference between the two very shortly. So this is now set up. And instead of variable, we want it to be DevCycle variable.onUpdate. So essentially, we're grabbing the variable from the dashboard. We're applying this onUpdate method that the SDK provides. And then inside here is the value we get returned back. This value will be the same as this value. So because we know that inside here, if it's the same value, what we want to do is we want to take the button's inner text and we want to update it to be the value. So I can click save there, go back to our dashboard, clear that. So you see it says string 3 here. Let's go back here. String 3 is actually a very ugly string. So let's actually change all 3. So we have create account. Anybody have a value we can use for variation A?
What do we got? Chat? Do we got any values that we can add in there? Throw something in. I feel like Go Kenny is definitely one for variation A, or spend money here. There you go. Oh, there we go. Go Kenny. All right, we got it. It's on there.
All right, cool. So just gonna update. Click save, so it's saved. And you'll notice that I'm targeting testing group, all users, myself included. If I were to set an ID, I can go ahead and like filter by that. I can also filter by different attributes here. And if we don't have something that like you want to use, we also have something called audiences. And then you can also use custom properties. So a lot of flexibility when it comes to targeting your users, as well as targeting internally, which is pretty cool.
And if you're interested in more about the audiences chat, you can actually check out Parth did a stream last month with us where he actually went over what audiences were all about. And but that's not the exciting thing. The exciting thing is we're seeing Go Kenny. That's the exciting thing.
We are. So if I click save, it's creating an account. If I go back up, it's because I changed it to be control. If I change it to be variation A, which is what I think we should keep it as, it updates, no refresh necessary, and all that jazz. And people might be wondering, isn't that kind of bad because it's gonna flicker on the end user? And I'm going to say no, it's not bad, for the sense of sometimes things will kind of go any way you don't expect it to go. And a huge thing for that is that it really helps mitigate a lot of problems that may arise unexpectedly. Because if a problem arises, you don't want to have your user have to refresh the page or have to, reload their app. Yeah, it makes a lot more sense, just to fix the issue, take it off completely, have it update automatically, and maybe they wouldn't even come across it. But with that kind of concludes my demo. So I'll throw it back to you, Andrew.
I love that. Also, I feel like this really speaks to why do you need real-time updates? Because you're not following Kevin Nguyen's advice. Logs are your friends, everybody. If logs are your friends, real-time updates don't need to be, or maybe they do need to be. My goodness, though, that was like butter smooth, Kenny. I imagine you like practicing that a lot, but also I have this feeling that this is just like life for you as a support engineer. You are constantly having to explain these things, so it totally shows. I am incredibly impressed. I was taking notes during that demo of things that I can do better. I love that. So real-time updates, yeah, like I feel as though if people are going to take anything away from that feature walkthrough, is like three things. Logs are your friends. Real-time updates are amazing. And Kenny is potentially a better developer advocate than Andrew is. I'm okay with that because it just means I'm going to invite you back to more streams, Kenny. But yeah, so that's super exciting. I love when we can look at features. Now, the downside here is that real-time updates aren't available on all of our SDKs. So if you are using our JavaScript SDK, it's there for you. I think the moral of that story is just don't not use JavaScript. But not all of our SDKs are able to do this. So stay tuned. Check out the documentation if you're interested in this. I think right now it is only our JavaScript SDK that has the real-time update availability, but that's always changing. Things are coming out all the time, and so definitely something worth checking out. So I did say that I was going to do a teaser, and before we go into kind of some of the other features, I did just want to kind of tease something that Kenny was talking about that I rudely interrupted him with. So last feature focus, Parth was on, and while both repping the Blue Jays in a really good way, he also talked about reusable audiences. So really powerful feature. If you're targeting the same people over and over again, a lot easier than going in and kind of setting it up manually. And so if you want to check that out, watch that stream. But we have a brand new feature that's going to be coming out really, really soon. It's going to go hand in hand with reusable audiences, and it's called simple self-targeting. And if you are in a QA position, this is going to be a huge, huge tool for you when it comes out. So I don't want to tell you a lot more about this, but Kenny, like, do you think this is something people should be excited about?
Oh, 100%. Without going too much into it, I've struggled with what it fixes, and I'll leave it at that.
love it. Wait. Yes. So that's we're gonna leave that for you there, just to wet your whistle. It'll definitely be coming out soon. But next up, I do want to jump into some of the other features. So some of the other things I wanted to talk about today were some stuff in our docs that we don't really focus on a lot. I want to take a look at our really cool campaign over in our blog as well. And then we're going to jump into we're going to look at some roadmap stuff. Kenny and I are going to talk about things we're excited about. So I think it's my turn to screen share now, which is always a lot of fun on a single screen because I'm never quite sure what people are seeing. And so we're going to try this. So let me go present, share screen. Let's go share screen. Yes, I know. Thank you. I do know that it works better with 2 monitors. Thank you, StreamYard. All right, here we go. So we are here in the DevCycle docs. By the way, if you are a React dev, and we take a lot of time with this, we take pride in any code samples we put out there. So if you're a React dev and you're like, oh, what does it look like to add DevCycle to React in a really simple way? This code example here, this feature experiment A code example is actually legitimate. This would work if you were in a React app. So everywhere that we are, you could find examples here. But that's not what we're looking at today. What I wanted to look at was actually something that's a little bit hidden away now. And this wasn't on purpose. It was just like with the restructuring of the docs, it shifted a little bit. And that's actually our best practices guide. So Kenny, you're dealing with support stuff on a regular basis. Do you find that folks don't know what they don't know, right? Like they don't realize that there are things that you can do better when you're doing this. And do you find that you're answering a lot of simple questions over and over again in your job?
I am. I would say in life, most people don't know what they don't know. But especially around when it comes to documentation. And I find that generally is because when you first look at it, it is a lot to digest. So it could be a little bit intimidating. So the fact that you actually went through I'm going to give you a shout out, Andrew, for organizing the docs and setting it up in a way that's a bit easier for everybody. It goes a long way.
I'll take it. Yeah, and so I really just wanted to call out this best practices section and to say that there's a lot of work that's gone into this. And so what best practices is all about is, so if you go into our kind of main documentation page, we've sort of organized it so you can get the essentials and sort of extras of how things work. So essentials are things that like you need to know. So you need to know about environments, you need to know about keys and features and variables and variations and targeting rules. And then we've got some more advanced stuff like variable schemas. We've got things like feature opt-in and HDB and stuff like that. But there's more to it than we can really put it in sort of an introductory guide. And so in this resources section, we actually kind of have a little bit more of here's our recommendations on how to use these features. So things like EdgeDB and edge flags. So like, what does this look like from a step-by-step implementation of this, and how can you do this in the best way possible? And so anytime that we release a new feature, we really try our best to add these best practices into the system. And so I really encourage you to check this page out because it's constantly being updated, and you can learn a little bit more about why we do things the way we do things. And so things like flag grouping. So we talk a little bit about this. So you'll notice that sort of on our platform, on DevCycle, if you're new to the platform, we don't necessarily use the word feature flags a lot. We use variables and variations. And so if you go into things like our flag grouping section, you can understand a little bit more about why that is and how all of this stuff works. And organization, like all of these pieces all kind of give a little bit more insight into why we do things and why we kind of thought these were the best practices that you could use. The other thing here is just like recommendations on things like flag cleanup. There's always a lot of conversations around technical debt with feature flags. So we have a section that covers that specifically, and using the CLI and things like that. We've got talking about security, and we obviously have GitHub secret scanning that's integrated already. So just a lot of really powerful documentation that if you haven't looked at this stuff, definitely go in, take a look at it. And it also kind of ties into some of the integrations that we have in the platform. We talked about integrations in the past, so we don't want to take a huge amount of time now on that. But definitely check out resources, best practices. There's some really powerful stuff in here. And if you go in and you notice, because DevCycle is changing all the time, if you notice, hey, that doesn't really apply anymore, let us know. Let us know. Send us or submit a PR. You can submit a PR to our docs and change it yourself. So you don't need to rely or wait for us to do it. You can always check it out yourself and make those changes. So that's one thing that I wanted to focus on. And the other one was actually something over on our blog. And I'm going to see, I think I can switch. Yes, I've switched over here to our blog. So there's two things that I really want to draw attention to here. The first one is our recent campaign that the amazing Madison Mayor has been working on, which is our Build versus Buy campaign. So Kenny, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you know what our Build versus Buy campaign is all about? Like what is this campaign meant to be sharing with people?
It's about putting resources where they should be put, I think. So a huge thing about buying versus building is that we spent the last however long building and really fleshing out the details of DevCycle. If you were to essentially put the same effort in to build the same product, but that's not your main product, that's a lot of time and resources going somewhere that it shouldn't be going. It should be reallocated to the main product. So generally what we find is that with the features we provide, with all the security best practices, it just makes more sense to use a product to kind of accelerate like your development while also improving quality of life.
I love that. Couldn't have said it better. Literally couldn't have said it better myself. So there are some really powerful reasons behind this idea of we have a company. Our company is literally focused on building out feature flags to make your development process easier. Obviously, people can build these features, but we've put a lot of time and effort and energy into focusing on how to do this really well. And so, especially if you're looking to kind of identify I was thinking about building this, and so you can get an idea of what goes into it. Madison's done a huge amount of work, as well as Jonathan and Mark and the rest of our kind of DevRel team has been really focused on sort of building this out in a really meaningful way. So take a look at these articles. They are really, really well done, super digestible as well. So it's a pretty fast read on these, but you can get a good idea about what all of this is about. So the other thing that I wanted to talk really quickly in the blog now too is that we've actually recently integrated into our blog a new search feature. So if you head over to our docs, which I'll share here again. So this search is powered by Algolia. So basically anytime we update our changes and you go in here, it's giving you the best search results that you can find. We actually have added that same search functionality over to our blog. So if you're looking at searching for build versus buy, let's see. So you can get an idea, some of these things are in here, build or buy, 6 questions to ask, building, all of these search results that are showing up in here will really help you to find pieces that you're looking for. So check that out. If you're looking for specific advice, ideas, check it out in our docs, check it out in our blog. There's a ton of stuff here. Also, if you are, if you're looking for just advice and ideas around here, there's so much stuff. There's so much content in this blog that you should go and check this out. Lots of stuff dating back to, I think we got content dating back here to 2021, 2022 and still useful today. But check that out over, it's devcycle.com/blog, but you can also find it if you I realized that I was sharing this the entire time. So for the blog, it's devcycle.com/blog to get here. But if you're in the docs, you can head over and just on this community section here, you can see this blog link that's here. It's also a link to our Discord and our Twitter or X or whatever it's called right now, as well as our meetups page. I do actually think, what am I doing here? Let's go and see. Build versus buy, best practices. Yeah, we talked about that already. So I'd love to kind of bring this up. So we have our meetup page. So we, around every quarter, we run an event called APIs and IPAs with our friends at wrangle.io. There's actually a great talk from one of the latest APIs and IPAs. So if you head over to the DevCycle
Hi,
YouTube
I'm Kobe Druxman, head of product at DevCycle.
Pause that for a second. Make sure you're seeing that. Yeah. And you take a look at our recent videos. It's in our playlist for, I think, APIs and IPAs, as well as our DevCycle in the wild. You can actually check out the talk from the last APIs and IPAs with Jonathan, and Jonathan is our CTO, and he's actually talking all about WASM and the future of cross-platform SDKs. Really, really good video. Check it out. You'll learn, if you don't know anything about WASM, you don't know anything about WebAssembly, check it out. You'll definitely learn something. It's an amazing talk. It was awesome to be there live and in person as well for that. So definitely worth checking out. And of course, if you're in the Toronto area, we're also doing things on the West Coast as well. Be sure to kind of subscribe to that meetup. And when these events happen, we can let you know in real time. So I'm going to stop my screen share for a second, or pull it off anyways. So I'm gonna move us on to our next segment of today's stream. And I never use these banners either. So I think we're gonna look at future features. This is the opportunity in the show where we look at our public roadmap, which I'm gonna throw up here. bit.ly/DevCycle roadmap. I'm going to pull this up on my screen as well. And this is kind of where we talk about some of the things that are currently in development, things that we're excited about. So let me bit.ly/DevCycle-roadmap. Is it working? Sick. All right. Let's pull this up here. Amazing. So Kenny, we were talking earlier about this simple self-targeting stuff. This is going to be really useful. How does this tie into QA stuff? Because we're talking about it now. Like, how is this a thing that's useful in like your support role? As well?
Of course. So in order to, what exists today is that I would have to identify myself in code to set like the ID for me. And then on the dashboard, I would have to target essentially that ID. What we're doing with simple self-targeting is we're making it a lot easier to do that process and have whatever you're developing just show up for only you. And why this is important is because sometimes what we enable is that you can actually build off production. There's no more accurate representation of your prod site than prod itself. So what you can do is you can actually build production level like features, have it released just to you, do all the development, and then release it to like further QA folks, product folks, anybody else that wants to take a look. But it all starts with you doing the work, you targeting yourself, and you ensuring that everything looks good before passing it on.
I love that. Man, you're handling these throws very well, Kenny. I'm digging this energy. So the other thing that's on here that we talked a lot about is our VS Code integration. We are really working on making our VS Code integration just like the best of the best when it comes to our integrations that we have, because we know people live in their IDE, so lots and lots of work is going on around that. But it's not the only thing that we are working on. So other things that we're working on that are coming up, DevCycle GitLab integration is coming up, which is obviously really exciting for our more enterprise users that are out there, folks that are on GitLab versus GitHub. Audit logging. So this is also a huge one. So being able to know what's changed and who's changed it, being able to know who to yell at is always useful. And so we want to support that kind of a relationship. But seriously, like having that insight into what's changed and being able to revert things are really important. And so obviously this is a big piece of what we're doing, and that's coming up soon. And then so automatic variable creation. I'm not going to talk a lot about this just because I think that there's a lot more to come, and I don't want to not do this service. But you can check this out over in the public roadmap, and then you can see here just some later items. So these are things that are on our pipeline, and these aren't all like immediately on our pipeline. Some of these will change, some of these will shift and move. Like these are our kind of future plans. So check this out. to kind of see things that are going on. And if you like an idea, like come in and actually upvote it. Like say that it's critical, say that it's important. Like we will focus on things that you tell us are important to focus on. So head over, give them a thumbs up, give them a vote here. And then I think if you upvote it, it'll ask you to like provide your email address and all the rest of the stuff. And then you'll be notified as development happens on this. And then, of course, you can always see what has actually launched on at DevCycle by checking out this DevCycle roadmap launch section. And so things about our CLI, like we were talking about reusable audiences, our bucketing, our things around that are also in here. The other place you can look if you're looking for updates, let me share this tab again, is you can actually look on either on the platform itself or in our docs, anywhere you see this bell here, you can get an idea of kind of recent announcements that are going on. And so this is our beamer that we use for these announcements. It also goes up on DevCycle, our Discord channel. So you can check it out here. Lots of interesting stuff that's going on. Lots of videos. Like there you go. You got our one of our product managers, Vic, talking about our CLI there, and he was on stream fairly recently as well. But basically, you've got lots of places where you can find out more information about what's going on. So speaking of, I did just mention Discord, and so I want to let me stop sharing this for a second. I do want to say that now is the time where you get an opportunity to not only make some requests, but also for our Discord giveaway. So every stream I do this, it's not always taken advantage of, but if you head over to bit.ly/DevCycle Discord, I have at least one $20 gift card to give away. If you are an employee of DevCycle watching the stream, you can't win it. I'm sorry. But if you are not and you're just watching and you want to get a gift card, all you got to do, head over to the DevCycle Discord, myself or Kenny in a public channel and just be like, hey, I want to win a gift card. And you could enter for a chance to win. I mean, if there's only one person that puts this out, you're probably going to win. But make sure you add us in one of those public channels. If you've already won one of these, unfortunately, you can't win another one, at least for right now. Give some other people a chance for just a little while. But I'd love to give you some money. I'd love to give you a gift card to spend on something fun. So please head over to our Discord. Links there at the bottom of the screen chat, and just bit.ly/DevCycle Discord. Check it out, and we would really, really love to see you over in our Discord and chatting with us. So I don't know if anybody's added anybody over there yet, but even if you're catching this as a VOD later on, the opportunity is still there. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. We're always really excited to welcome more people over into our community. And the great thing about being on our Discord is you can add literally the entire company, from the CEO to our newest junior dev, are on there. So if you want to chat with Kenny, you can chat with Kenny. If you want to chat with me, you can chat with me. We're there. I'm going to be doing office hours starting in September. So you'll be able to drop in and we can just hang out and chat and talk about DevCycle feature flaggy stuff. So be sure to check that out. But yeah, so we've got a very few minutes left. And with the remaining time, I just want to kind of do a couple of things. The first thing is I want to thank every single one of you for watching. We had a good viewership today. I was seeing we've been pretty consistent. Kenny, you're bringing in the viewers, my friend. And a great example. And thank you, Kenny. Thank you for being here. This was a fantastic feature focus stream.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, but I have to give credit to Parv. I'm pretty sure he brought in the viewers for this time. However many viewers we have for the next stream, that'll be me. I'll take credit for that one.
There you go. I like it. But I want to thank you. Thanks, everybody. And thanks for chat. Chat's been super active today, so I'm super excited. Yeah, totally agree. I love this. The real gift is being able to chat with Ken. So kind. So wholesome. EQ through the roof. I will never forget that statement. All right, so I want to talk about that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is actually a very, very exciting thing that is going to be happening in just a few weeks. So let me see if I can pull it up here. So let's go and share my screen again. Let's go. And there we go. Got that up there. Share my screen. Share screen. Chrome tab. There we go. All right. So I think I got the right thing up here. So September 5th and 6th, London, England. DevCycle is going to be taking London in just a couple of weeks. Myself and our developer evangelist, Mark Allen, are going to be heading to London in just a couple weeks. Mark is actually going to be speaking at Civo Navigate, which is a fantastic conference that is hosted by the cloud hosting company Civo. So Mark is going to be speaking on, I don't want to get this one wrong, so I'm actually going to go up to the schedule. And I did see him on here this morning. Their searchability in their schedule isn't ideal, but he was on day 2, I think. Where are you hiding? Mark, that's not the right Mark. Come on, where are we hiding? No, not there. Hitchhiker's Guide. No. Where are you hiding, Mark? Measure, modernizing. Where did I see it? As passive DevOps killer. Oh, Rashawn's going to be there too. Mark, no. Here it is. How not to run everything locally using Civo and Code Zero to replace Docker Compose. So Mark is going to be speaking on that at Civo Navigate. And the other person who's going to be speaking, like I said before, is little old me. I'm going to be at DevRelCon in London on the 7th and 8th, as well as at Civo Navigate. And I am going to be speaking on, so I'm a teacher in another life, or was a teacher, now developer relations manager. And so just talking about kind of my experience and how that's been helpful in the world of developer advocacy and providing some tips on how that can happen. Mark and I will be in London. So if you are watching this stream and you too are going to be in London in a couple of weeks, please let us know. We would love to connect with you, tell you all about DevCycle. We'd love to see you. I know I speak for both Mark and I when I say we're really excited to be there. And I think we'll actually be live there. We're going to be doing DevCycle live from both of the conferences. So we're going to be live from Civo Navigate at least one day, talking about things that we've seen and stuff that's going on. We're going to do the same thing from DevRelCon. So you'll get to hear from both Mark and I a couple days that week, which I think is going to be really exciting. All right. And with that, I think that is everything that we have for our feature focus today. But I always like to turn it over to our guest for the final word. So Kenny, what would you like your final word of the stream to be for today?
First and foremost, thank you for having me, Andrew. It's been a blast. And thank you to everybody that showed up for the stream, future, present, and past. 2 notes I want to leave everybody off with. The first is that I love CSS, and I think you should reconsider if you don't. And the second one is, remember, logs are your friends. It's not just a saying. We say it for a reason.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kenny. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the stream today. I really, really hope that we'll be seeing you around the DevCycle community. Join us on Discord, join us on social media, sign up for the platform, come to more streams, all of the things that you want to see. We want to be here and chatting with you about. So thanks for everybody that's been in chat today. Thanks for Kenny for being here, and looking forward to seeing you all around the DevCycle community. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, everybody, and we'll see you next time here on the DevCycle Twitch and around the internet. Bye-bye.